My name's Paul Jason and I'm the motorcycle broker, and we're again here with Gundula Tutt, who's doing some beautiful work with us on the Amelia Island green frame, and she's a paint expert. If you look back at playlists, you'll see more about Gundula. There's our very first interview with her it tells you exactly what she does. This is about when you buy a classic car, a classic motorcycle, how it starts when you buy it.
Yeah, even before, maybe.
Or even before.
What do I want?
Yeah, you have to prepare yourself because you become a guardian of history.
This is true, yes.
And how when you buy these objects, there are demands, and the object makes demands. And especially, for example, if you buy a motorcycle at auction, they will tell you very clearly it's sold not running, as seen, do your own due diligence, and there's no refunds. So when you buy these machines at auction, which we very rarely do, we've done it once or twice for customers, because we knew it was a very special machine, but those customers also understood that that's the moment when the spending begins, when it arrives here, because you have no idea what you're buying.
I think it even may start before, but the customers coming to your place usually have that. You have to ask the question, do I have the room to store it properly?
Exactly.
And the means to kind of keep it in good shape and service it regularly.
Ride it. And
ride it and everything. This is the question you should have in your head, in the back of your head before you buy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up with a lot of trouble before you even come here.
Exactly. And if you can't ride the thing, can you get someone to ride it for you? Because, and again, we've said before, just laying these things up, it doesn't do them any good. You can decommission them, but then you're into a lot of expense when you recommission them, which is usually when you sell them.
It's also something that different aspects of storing things. If you have a long-term storage plan, which is some museums have that, to kind of turn the engine at least once a year or 2 times a year. This is the minimum thing. And getting special conservation oils into the lubricant system that will keep it from corroding and everything. But this is still also a field of experiment where the museums are starting now to experiment. Is it better to keep it dry or keep it under with fuel in the tank or something? But this is a special thing.
These are whole other conversations that we're not going to drill totally down into that. And the other thing, if you use a conservation oil, you've got to get it all out of the motor.
Yeah, these conservation oils, they can have residues and mix with new oils. So
they're okay to mix with new oils. Okay.
Yeah. This is a research project. A colleague of mine is in there with a Swiss university at the moment.
Okay.
But they're not finished with the research yet. There's no results yet.
Yeah. So we will find out.
Different options, I think. Yeah.
So the object puts demands on you. Well, is the engine running? What was its story? You take off the bodywork, you have a look.
What does it come with it?
What comes with it?
Well, it's in the box in a way.
Yeah. What exactly? And we don't know.
Yeah.
For example, the Amelia Island green frame, we spotted in the auction catalogue that clearly the fairing had been repainted. What we didn't know is the front mudguard had been repainted. And you couldn't tell it from photographs. And they weren't going to pay me to get on a plane and go to Florida to inspect the bike before they chose to bid on it or not. And there wasn't the time anyway. And so then we had to look at, how do we do that? Which you can see about that in the previous video to this, which is about preservation, conservation and restoration. So the machine puts these demands on you, and you often uncover the story of what someone else did to it, which you can't see when you're bidding on the bike or when you even get it out of somebody's collection. There's always this, right, we've got it here, it's been bought, it's here, we've got the bodywork off, so then you take the top end off and you look in there and you suddenly find out, oh God, all the oil turn to varnish, so on and so forth. And it starts to make these demands and say, you need to do this, you need to do that. There was a cylinder head repair on it that had to be done because the factory made a mistake. And so it's suddenly making that demand on you. You got to do this and that.
You always have to keep the whole thing also within your scope, so not get lost in details, but where do we want to go in the end? You know, this special moment in time that should be one moment in time what the bike shows when it's finished. It may be the delivery state, but it may also be another kind of documented moment in the time of this bike. So it not necessarily has to be worked on to look like coming from the factory. This is also something you should keep in mind when you buy something. If you are an owner who likes his bikes in pristine condition, it may be a pity to buy the only one that hasn't been restored yet in a kind of a wonderfully well-kept aged condition and turn this into looking like new, because then you may address a bike that has been restored already, a real one, and restore it to factory condition in the most authentic way, without destroying maybe the sole survivor that we still have, and make that into kind of a restored bike.
So those ones that are unrestored in that way need to be kept.
They need a home where
preserved.
This is the thing they want.
And then there's plenty of machines usually around that need restoration, and those are a good one, or plenty of bad restorations that have the good ingredients where you re-restore them. Now, we've also touched on how you can remanufacture original paint. So do you want it in original factory paint, or do you want it in modern 2K to look like
in
original
matching
factory?
color,
and the finish matching, and so it looks and feels like the original.
There's also sometimes you have to find out that there may be serial models where one was made differently from the beginning, and you should not kind of miss this point and make this one like everything else because you think every one of these was the same. This is research about provenance and about the history before. There may be one in blue because the guy ordered it in blue. A lot of restorers don't see that, and they think this is this model, we have to make it like that, and they destroy a special thing of the history of this vehicle. It may be forgotten that this was the prototype. I have seen it so many times in cars when people don't understand why there are differences on this car, and the chassis is wrong, we have to make it right, then they cut it up and make it like it should be, and afterwards they understand this was the prototype and we just destroyed it. That we didn't get it at the right time, that this was on purpose and this was there from the beginning. It's because we didn't do our homework.
And then conversely, what you have is people who have got something that's incorrect and they go, oh, no, it's very special.
This is the other thing.
And it's like, no, it wasn't special. It's just someone bodged it. Each one comes with its individual problems.
It's not kind of the usual procedures. There are no usual procedures with historic objects with individual history. They have to be addressed individually. Also with the project concept and everything like that.
And this thing of history, the amount of times people go, oh, has the bike got full service history? From 50 years ago, someone really did keep the full service history. It does happen very seldom, but motorcycles were utilitarian vehicles, and they were used before people got their car license a lot of the time. And even things like green frames went through a period where the bike wasn't worth anything. It was of no interest. And people weren't going to pay a fortune to a Ducati dealer to do the Desmo service. And people do buy service histories on the internet that aren't real. Plus also, we've dealt with bikes that we know a proven service history, and although they charge the owner for the parts and for the labour, they didn't do it, and they didn't change the parts. We know because of what we took off the bike. If it's a Ferrari Dino, because it was a really expensive car. But you're not really going to get that with a bike.
And it is really a pure coincidence that the service history is there still, because
Yeah.
even if it was there, maybe somebody threw it out just in this phase where nobody was looking after the
Nobody
bike.
was interested. It took
Yeah.
up room. If you want to insist that every motorcycle you buy has service history, you will find that someone's bought that service history or manufactured it in
And
some
there's
way,
other
usually.
ways to find out if it's a real bike. There's other indicators that specialists can point
Yeah.
out to you. That's not only paper.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
is the bike genuine?
Yeah.
So we do the due diligence, and then has it been set up correctly? And what we do here is we make sure that that bike is as close to a new one from the factory. So any bad work has been chased out through test riding and so on.
I may be a heretic, but also looking who was a previous owner may tell you if it's a genuine bike or not. At least in the car world, it's like that. I don't know how it's in the
It
motorcycle.
is in the motorcycle world. It
If
is
some
there.
names appear in the provenance of a vehicle, you may be more careful looking into the genuineness of the object.
Yes, and
I know it's a heretic statement, but
it is, and it's one we have to be very careful
Yeah.
of as well.
It's not about mentioning
But
names here.
but when you are in the industry all the
yeah.
time,
Yeah.
you know what to look out for. And with some people, it's a great thing. They owned it. I know that when we get that bike, great, or
It's
that
also-
person did the
yeah,
work
yeah,
to it,
yeah.
and
Then you know
we know
it's
it's good.
reliable, yeah.
And we know it's okay.
Yeah.
But also apart from the object making demands on the owner, there are demands made on the object by the owner,
Yeah.
by what is possible to do and what is not possible to do, by the history of the bike, what's been done to it.
How
those
big is my
demands.
budget?
And the budget, of course.
It is a kind of a nasty thing, but we have to think
It is
about
true.
budget too.
Yeah.
And then, if we have a limited budget, we have to think about which things to address first.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, cosmetic comes last.
You're
Making
absolutely
things
right. That's so good to
functional,
hear.
Making things functional
Yeah.
and reliable and safe is first.
Yeah.
And everything that's about only looks can
Yeah.
come later.
Exactly, because you can always come back to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless, of course, it's corroding.
This is about
When you have
safety
corrosion,
too, and about
there's a
kind of
different matter.
durability.
Yeah.
When you ruin things because you run corroded parts and things like that. This
Yeah.
is not a beauty thing.
Yeah. So, these objects, whether they be paintings, cars, motorcycles, wristwatches, whatever they are, you have to understand that when you get into them, it will make demands on you, and that you are a guardian of that object. You ain't taking it to the grave with you.
Yeah.
You
You
are
shouldn't
a
be
guardian.
surprised that there are demands, because it's always the case. This comes with it.
And the same goes for an old building.
Yeah.
That old building, you may spend a fortune and get it right, but it will make other demands over the time. Suddenly, something you didn't realise will go wrong, and
Yeah.
it was missed.
It's a constant process.
Yeah, and these things are alive.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that. My name's Paul Jason. I'm the motorcycle broker, and this is Gundula Tutt.
Yeah.